Hello, I'm Margaret Brandman. That was a short section from my work Autumn Rhapsody for solo piano, which appears on my Sensations CD. For over 50 years, I've worked in the music industry as composer, performer, author, arranger, and music educator. I'm pleased to say that I'm achieving ongoing success and recognition in the traditionally male-dominated field of composition for my works recorded by the Moravian Philharmonic Orchestra in the Czech Republic, for my Sensations CD, for my Cosmic Wheel of the Zodiac song cycle recorded by the Prague Choir, and also for my Warm Winds in Havana suite for saxophones and percussion recorded in Cuba. Much of my music is composed to bring awareness to the beauty and fragility of the landscape, flora and fauna of Australia. As you may be aware, Australia has recently experienced devastating fires and loss of wildlife. I too experienced and fought the bushfires which burnt part of my house that I was living in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney, and where I subsequently composed the music for Firestorm Symphony. After the fires had passed, about 3-4 months later, all the new shoots were coming from the eucalyptus trees and life was regenerating and taking itself back to where it was before. So the third movement is all about the regeneration and life and energy, and the trees coming back, the animals coming back, and the people resuming a lovely sort of life in the Blue Mountains or wherever they live.
It's a truly beautiful area.
So I loved living there at the time, but it can be a scary place.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And all the best for the composition.
Thank you so much. So much for doing such a lovely job on my works the other day and today. It sounded wonderful, and I really appreciate all your work and your effort. And can I shake your hand? In 2019, I received the Best Foreign Composer Award for this work from the Artemis Film Festival in Los Angeles, USA. I'm pleased to say that this work, along with many of my other works, receives regular airplay on radio stations around the world and was, in January this year, 2020, featured in a special program called Australia on Fire, presented by Classical Discoveries in New Jersey. Some of the other works on the Sensations album include Undulations for String Orchestra, plus 3 works for violin and piano, and my own recording of Autumn Rhapsody for solo piano, which you heard at the beginning of this presentation. Apart from the works that I compose with classical influences, I've also composed works with jazz and Latin American flavours. 2 of these works are Jacaro Rumba d'Amor, which is on the Sensations album, Warm Winds in Havana recorded in Cuba, and this work is for saxophones and percussion, and quite a lively, jazzy work. Over the years, I've collaborated with many amazing women and men to bring my works to life and to the concert stage. In 2016, I collaborated with baritone Martin Cook of the Bavarian State Opera Company, for whom I composed the song cycle Cosmic Wheel of the Zodiac, which was inspired by the amazing lyrics of astrologer and poet Benita Rayner. Martin Cook and I performed the song cycle and many of my other newly composed songs on Australian themes at a special concert in Sydney that year.
There is a lion in the heart of everyone, young or old, weak or strong. It will teach you to sing your song, you'll find your goal and where you belong. In the first rush thought, you check with your soul. Run it right past that first impulse that beats in your veins.
In 2017, I expanded upon the solo songs from the Cosmic Wheel of the Zodiac song cycle and arranged them for choir. They were performed by the Prague Mixed Chamber Choir for a special concert at the Czech Music Museum concert hall, and then recorded for the Cosmic Wheel of the Zodiac album. The sheet music is also available in the book. The complete Cosmic Wheel of the Zodiac song cycle and other songs from my Songs of Love and Desire album, written to the lyrics of Desiree Regina, were performed by Desiree together with baritone John Antonio and Coro Austral, directed by Margot McLaughlin, at the album launch concert in Sydney in 2018. In the concerts I present in Sydney, including my Rhapsodies to Rumbas concert, I not only compose all the works, but also perform as either soloist or associate artist on piano for my ensemble works. Now I'd like to mention two more aspects of my music business as a music educator and a publisher. I have developed an innovative learning method for music which incorporates the oral, visual and tactile aspects of music in equal measure, along with accelerated learning through colour coding. Not only have I devised the methodology, but I have also authored and published a range of materials to simplify the learning process. I have produced 2 videos on my teaching system. Firstly, the contemporary piano method, covering the early learning techniques, and secondly, the geometry of the piano and the symmetry of the hands, for which I received the Diploma of Excellence from the World Piano Teachers Association in Serbia in 2012. Hello, I'm Margaret Brandman. For many years I've been involved in music. In this presentation I'll be speaking about my approach to the teaching of keyboard geography. I will offer some easy ways for students to memorise their scales. This will help them when they're playing a scale in an exam, will also help them when they're learning a piece, and if they have to improvise a line without any written cues. I will begin by covering the right brain faculties of visualization, spatial relationships and Gestalt. I will then cover my speed learning techniques for major and minor scales, modes, chords, arpeggios and for transposition. I will show the connections between various scales and chord shapes using the concept of photographic negatives. The third aspect of this presentation is how the teaching of scale fingering can be simplified using the understanding of the scale topography and the symmetry of the hands. Here I will be speaking about the concept of fingering commonality, showing the main clues and the sub-clues for fingering scales and arpeggios. At the end of this presentation, I will demonstrate the practical application of these ideas in my composition Spider on the Mirror. To begin with, here are some of the books in my Contemporary Piano Method series, which begin with materials for children from the age of 5 and up, progressing to material for tertiary level studies.
I was just amazed how intuitive Margaret's method was. It introduced intervals, steps, skips initially, and then larger intervals from then on. The kids picked it up really quite quickly, and that led to learning patterns, how to recognize patterns in music.
My mascot on my children's teaching materials is Dexter the Koala, drawn by artist Don Ezard, who also worked on the animated movie Happy Feet and drew Mumble the penguin for the movie.
Hi, I'm Sandy. I've been a classical musician and teacher for many years, but when I attended a jazz course at the Conservatorium in Sydney and I was confronted with a guitar teacher to teach me how to play jazz piano, I asked him a question and he couldn't answer it. So he said, "I think you need to see Margaret Brandman." So off I went to see Margaret, and that opened up a new world for me. Margaret's wonderful idea of notation in using steps and skips and whole notes, quarter notes, was so much easier for me to understand. Rhythms and timing had always been a bit hard for me, but with colouring in those notes that she has in her book, and especially for the primer books, it made things a lot simpler.
Dexter the Koala also appears in my recorder teaching materials, Playing Made Easy for Recorder, and I wrote these together with an amazing performer and teacher, Catherine Weaver. My range of music theory publications not only cover the elements of classical and popular music, but also include chord and harmonic information required for jazz compositions. Australian school music teacher Lynn Lolbach and I co-authored Accent on Music, designed for high school music students.
Hello, my name's Michelle, and my husband and I have 3 children who have been attending with Margaret Brandman for her piano teaching, and for the last couple of years. I have James here with me today, and he's just started at high school, which he's performing quite well.
Yeah, I joined the band recently, and the band teacher was impressed that I could read music, and that's because of Margaret Brandman. Her oral is really productive, and you can see what it links up with all the other books that you're using, and the theory is you do theory, and that links up with all the music pieces that you're doing at the time.
And so the 3 children at their various ages, James is our eldest, have found Margaret's books easy to follow. Margaret's very knowledgeable in assisting them with the combination of the books. We have the oral course, the rhythm unravelled that we are using as well. And Margaret uses primary colours to point out to the children the most important parts of the books and the course. The 3 children are all playing with 2 hands, and James has just completed his 2nd grade exam, and we have our other daughter who will be doing that shortly as well. So we found Margaret's theory and her combination of her books and her experience very outstanding.
Apart from my music education interests, I've always been aware that my life's purpose is to compose music which is uplifting, touching hearts and souls, and thereby encouraging peace and harmony on the planet. To conclude my presentation, here is the Prague Choir performing my composition Universal Truth Remains, one of the core works in my collection, in which these sentiments are very well expressed.